questions on what we were using for our warm-up? Okay, we're going to continue that thought process now as we move into our next series of events here. So again, that De La Riva guard that we've been working on is a longer ranged open guard, meaning I'm keeping my partner fairly far away from me, and my guard is open, meaning my legs are not wrapped around them. I'm simply using my legs as hooks and frames to manage distance. Now, before we get into our second sweep today, which is going to see us taking our opponents back, I'd like us to take a moment to do a guard retention drill using the De La Riva. One of the most common reactions that our opponent's going to give us when we put them in De La Riva is going to see them stepping over our framed leg. So I'll demonstrate what I'm referring to if I borrow Mr. Logan. Okay, Logan, go ahead and have a seat. He's going to put me in De La Riva right here. Okay, guys, so again, from this position, one of the most common reactions from the top person is going to see them stepping over the leg that is framing their leg. Why? Because as you guys saw, utilizing that base widening movement where we push their leg back is really, really annoying. It's easy for us to lose our balance. So, to help alleviate that, I'm going to be stepping over top of his leg. So now he can no longer use that leg to push me and widen my base. I'd like us to take a moment to address this because this is such a common reaction. If we don't have an answer to that, then really our comfort in using the De La Riva will go out the window. Okay, guys? So again, we're going to switch top and bottom, and we're going to take a look at a little retention drill that we can do. Let's go and switch it up there, Mr. Logan. So again, I've pulled guard on my partner here. I'm in De La Riva now. So from this position, my partner is going to step over top of my foot here. Now, this is a very precarious position because he now has an angle that he can create with his knee. He can either start to cut his knee across this way, or he can start to leg weave across to the other side. So what I need to do is I need to get back to De La Riva. Let's rewind the tape just a little bit there, Mr. Logan. Okay, so from this position, guys, I'm going to show the guard reset slowly, and then we'll break it down and talk about it. So he steps over. And now I'm right back to my position. I'm back to De La Riva. Okay, let's come back a little bit. So from here again, my partner steps over top of my leg, boom, right here. As soon as he does this, I need to keep his knee from cutting to either side. So to do that, we're gonna utilize that thigh frame that we were talking about last class, where I use my thigh to push his knee a little bit. This is gonna help slow that knee down. As I push my thigh forward, I'm gonna build up onto that elbow. Now, I've sat myself up, similar to how we would when we push that knee open. But I'm doing this so now I can use my body to, again, force him to post his hand. So from here, notice how I'm maintaining a strong frame on his collar. I'm going to bring him forward and cause him to post. Now, all I need to do is simply reset my guard by spiraling my legs back into position here. Okay, let's run that back one more time. So from the top perspective, all we're doing is we're going to be stepping over the leg that is stepping on your thigh. Now again, from the bottom perspective, let's control their knee. We're going to push our thigh forward. As we do that, I'm sitting up on my elbow. Notice how my elbow is maintaining base in relation to his body. Okay, so if he's starting to move around me, I'm turning to face him. Reset, please. So again, I've sat myself up. Now I'm going to bring my body back as I pull him over, causing him to post his hands as I swivel back to reset the guard. So if we look at the whole thing nice and smooth without talking, it'll look like this. I've reset the position, and I've now taken away that threat that he was throwing at me. So the threat was, as he steps over, he's going to be either knee cutting or going in for a leg weave. So I want to use my thigh to push his knee back. As soon as I do that, I'm ready to start to sit up, make him lose his balance as I reset my guard. I'll show this from a different angle so that we can see a slight profile view now. Again, guys, I'll just start sitting for timeliness. So from this position, he steps over my leg. I'm going to use my thigh to push forward as I sit up. I'm now going to pull him and force his hands to touch the mat. As I do that, I spiral back and I go back right to my De La Riva here. Okay? Take your time. You don't have to rush with this, guys. This is one that we need to take time to build a little bit because I really want to try to make sure that I'm stopping his forward progression and his forward sort of pace as much as possible. I don't want him to start to pass my guard. Alrighty, guys. Thank you, Mr. Logan. Does anybody have any questions on this before we try it out? Mr. Eric? Yeah, just like we do with that first off balance where I fall to the right shoulder, same exact idea where I rotate my body over. So it's essentially that same off balance. We're just starting with them stepping over our leg. So we block them, then we off balance and reset. Okay, guys? Take your time, go nice and slow. We'll just do one for right now, okay? And let's get that on too. 1, 2. So does anybody have any questions so far? I'd like to take a moment to just take a step back and reassess that drill that we were working on. Okay, I don't want to move on yet because I want to make sure that we're all feeling a little more comfortable with that. So again, here's what we're trying to avoid. My partner has me on De La Riva here. Okay, here's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid our partner passing our guard. Right, we're trying to stop our partner from going knee cut or from going into leg weave and using their body to fold our legs in different directions, which will help set up their passes. So I'm trying to stop that. I'm trying to stop them from cutting through or moving around my guard. And we're doing that by creating a block and then an off balance. So let's look at that again real quick. So again, as he steps over, and let's remind ourselves, guys, I always need to be controlling this bottom ankle. You can grab the ankle, that's fine, or you can grab the pants. It's whatever is preferable, okay, whatever's available, but we always need to be controlling that leg. So my partner steps over top of my foot, and immediately I sit up and frame. See how I'm using my right arm, I'm stiff arming, I'm holding him back. Right, my left leg is stepping forward to keep his knee immobilized. Again, he steps over, boom, and I sit up. I'm framing, using my left knee to immobilize him. Now, we're just gonna perform that same kazushi we did last class. I bring his hands to the mat, I just wind my legs back underneath him and reset the position, right? This was the frame that failed me, so this is what I'm trying to reset. I'm trying to get that foot back up on his thigh. Let's do that one more time from this perspective. He steps over, I use my thigh to frame as I sit up. And now from here, I'm gonna start to bring his hands to the mat as I reset my guard. Okay, guys? I'd like to take one more moment to just take a few repetitions on that movement again, just to build your confidence, make sure that we're all on the same page. Then we'll move into our back take tonight, which is actually a pretty simple movement. All right, guys? Let's go ahead and try that guard retention drill one more time. All right? Nice and slow. Just remember your goals. Your goals are create a frame to block, off balance, and then reset the guard. Okay? Let's try this out. Let's go 1, 2. Okay, everybody, so let's get into our last sweep for the week. So this week, our focus has been on guard sweeping. We've talked about how conceptually sweeps are made up of us accessing levers on our opponent's body, shifting their center of gravity, which will then allow us to make them fall over. So we looked at a very simple sit-up sweep yesterday. That sit-up sweep started with us performing that off balance or that kazushi to the front where they were able to then fall over and we come up on top. Now we're going to use the other one that we worked on, the off balance to the back. And we're going to use this to help us take their back. So in case you don't know what that means, taking someone's back is where we get onto our opponent's back, kind of like a backpack. The back mount is the most powerful and dominant position in jiu-jitsu, so we're always trying to get there, right? It's very safe, and I have a lot of attack opportunities. Let's take a look at how we're going to do this. This is a movement called the Baby Bolo. It's a weird name. I'll explain it in a second, okay? So starting from here, I pull into my guard position. Now, last class, we looked at how to secure the grip here and make our partner fall forward. Now, I'm going to off-balance my partner to the back. And by doing that, I'm going to secure the grip that I need to take his back. So I need to control my partner's cross grip, meaning my hand, I want to reach across and grab his sleeve. This is actually harder to do than you may think. The reason for that is because when we were grabbing the pant leg on this side, it was easy for us to do a kick break because we could kick our leg past them. If he's grabbing my pant leg on this side, it's harder to do the kick break because if I start to take that hook out, he's grabbing my pants. If I start to take that hook out, now he has control of my leg, okay? He's gonna start to leg drag or move around. So what I wanna do is I wanna get this hand down onto the mat. So we're gonna utilize that off balance that we did last class. I'm gonna step on his thigh. As I do, I sit up and follow him. And now I'm gonna rotate to my left side. If he's holding onto my pant leg, he has to let go to catch himself. let's be clear here. If your partner does not let go, they very well may just fall over. Now, this is what we call a false positive. They're not falling over because you necessarily did a good thing. They're falling over because they didn't know how to maintain their balance, right? So this is a false positive. They shouldn't fall over from doing this. But it can happen, so let's just understand that sometimes your partner might not know how to keep their balance. They may fall. However, let's talk about when our opponent actually knows what they're doing. So again, I sit up, I'm gonna off balance, and he posts his hand. Now that his hand is on the mat, I can let go of his collar and grab that sleeve. Now I have everything I need to take his back. So as Coach Seth starts to come back up, I'm gonna start to get behind him and then take his back. Now, don't worry, this looks really crazy. Believe it or not, this is actually a very simple movement. I'm getting my body behind his body. I'm simply sitting him down and pushing his legs away from me. Now, we call this the Baby Bolo because it is the simplified version of a bigger technique called a Babybolo. And the Babybolo is a technique where we would spin behind our partner, but it involves us going upside down and doing all sorts of craziness. So we're not worried about that today. We're gonna utilize this Babybolo. Now, this is a technique that is absolutely a high percentage movement. If you practice this and get good at it, you can absolutely use this at the highest levels. However, this is also a great way to see the intricacies of the guard. We're gonna be using all of our limbs at various points to control our opponent. So again, this technique is an excellent example of how sort of advanced and how the breadth of the guard position. So let's take a moment to talk about how to use the Baby Bola. So again, I've gotten my opponent to post their hand on the mat by simply falling to my left side. I'm gonna let go of his collar and I'm gonna grab the cross sleeve grip. Notice I have not let go of his pants yet. Now, as Coach Seth starts to come back up, I'm using this lever control to start to rotate his body away from me. So I'm simply pushing his arm towards the windows. Now, I'm doing this to keep him facing that way, right? Because where do I want to go? To his back. So I'm going to be pushing his arm across his body here. Now, I'm going to take my foot that was framing and pushing his leg. I'm going to place it on the mat. You may remember how earlier today we sat up on our elbow. We're going to do the same thing, but as I sit up, I'm going to hook his far leg. So now, let's look at this position. I'm keeping Coach Seth turned away with this lever control, and I've created this block in between his knees. So now it's very difficult for Coach Seth to turn into me, and it's also difficult for him to turn away from me. He's kind of stuck. That's perfect. I'm now going to let go of his sleeve and grab either his belt, or if for whatever reason the belt's not available, we can also just grab right here on the pants. Now, I need to get my hips behind his hips. To do that, I'm going to start to scoop my hips behind as I put both of my hooks right behind his legs here. Now, this is the point in the technique where people see it and they're like, what? No way. Because I'm gonna make him fall forward. But here's the thing. My legs are the strongest part of my body, and the human's legs are. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling his hips down on top of my shins, and now I'm going to push my legs forward as I simply follow him. So right now, Coach Seth is basically just doing a chair sit in midair. Okay? I'm very comfortable, right? I'm simply hooking, and he's suspended up above me. But now watch. As I sit up, I'm going to extend my legs forward, and he sits his butt right down in front of me. Notice what I'm doing. This is not just because I like to look at you guys. This is also for safety for my nose. Don't look at his head. Boom. You're going to get face planted, okay? So turn your face away unless you want to get your nose hit. All right? Now, look, once I'm here, I'm keeping my knees pinched. You might not be able to see because it's a very small thing, but my feet that are hooked underneath his legs, if I just kind of keep those hooks in, he can still circle his legs out. Very easy. So I'm actually hooking and pinching my knees. Now, let's finish by getting our back mount position. I'm going to get my hooks and seatbelt. One arm goes over, one arm goes under, hug the chest. Now, I'm going to fall to my side. It doesn't matter which side you fall to, but what does matter is the hook that you put in. Whatever side you go to, put that hook in first. So if I go to my right side, I put in my right hook first. If I go to my left side, I put in my left hook first. Why? Because if I start to fall and I'm not controlling his bottom hip, he goes flat back. Now he's escaped the position. So just a very basic rule of thumb, guys. Anytime you're taking someone's back, always make sure that you put in the bottom hook first and then the top hook second, okay? Let's rewind the tape. Don't worry, it looks like a lot of stuff, but again, let's think about the overall concept. I'm moving my body from in front of him to behind him. I'm making him squat and then pushing his legs away. We'll start here in this position. So I'm in De La Riva. I create my off balance by pushing and sitting up. I want that cross sleeve grip, so I'm going to off balance him to force him to give it to me. I reach down and grab. I've got what I want. As he comes up, look, I'm turning and pushing him. Notice how my leg, it's almost like I'm throwing a stick in the spokes of a bicycle, okay? I'm hooking my foot all the way over on his far hip here. This actually has a name. This is called a deep hook, right? A deep hook. I'm hooking all the way deep through his legs. Now, I've got to get both of my hooks behind both of his legs. So I'm going to start to sit up and grab as I put my hooks behind and swivel. I also like to grab the other pant leg too, just so that way I stop him from being able to step and turn and face me. You can grab the belt. If that's tricky to grab onto, we're just going to grab onto the side of the pants. There's this little loop here, right where their drawstring is. That's a good handle too. Now look, guys, I'm going to sit him down gently. As I start to push him forward, I'm going to follow. Good pinch. Grab, 1, fall, 2. Okay, I'll show slow motion from the top. All right, guys, here we go. So I'm moving around my opponent, going to their back. Top person. All you really need to do is just stay stable. Don't fall over, don't give your partner any false positives. Just stay nice and stable. Give them some platforms and some limbs to control. As they move behind you, they're going to start to sit your hips down. And as they extend you forward, let your feet go forward. And you're just going to kind of blop right onto your bottom. Okay, guys? Does anybody need to see it again? Yep, no problem. All right, guys, let's look at it one more time. I'll just start here. So I'm going to push my partner away. I off balance and cause him to post. I grab that sleeve. As he sits up, I turn him and hook his far leg. Now, I'm going to start to get up and move behind him. Now I gently pull him down. Pull him down first, guys, so that way he can have his knees bent. Now I kick him forward. Grab the back and finish. So again, most of the technique, most of the details, I should say, were those gripping details. The gross movements see us simply moving behind them, pulling them down, pushing them out. But again, all those little details, which are the things that make or break techniques in jiu-jitsu, those little details are what's comprising most of the mechanics here. Grab this, turn them here, hook that thing, pull them down with that, right? So take your time. Just think about what your end goal is. I want to get behind them. I want to pull them down. I want to move them forward. Okay, guys? Let's try this out. Again, we're learning the intricacies of the guard right here, learning how to manipulate our opponent using all of our limbs. Let's get to work. 1, 2. Okay, guys. So does anybody have any questions before we move on here? So again, this technique is a great way to sort of see the dynamic nature of the guard. I'll show some common errors that I was noticing as I was walking around. So everything for the most part was looking pretty good, actually. Right? We push and sit up. We force them to post. I grab their sleeve as they come up. I'm pushing them away. Guys, if you're losing the mobility, if you're having trouble moving your hips, look, I put my right foot on the mat as I hook. Now I use this right foot as my engine. Look how mobile I am, see that? Right? Some of you guys are way too sort of like, just use your foot and just move, right? There's not much that I need. Once I have that sort of spoke in between his legs, or the bar in between the spokes of the bike, and I'm holding this sleeve, he can't follow me. I'm just gonna move, okay? And now once I'm here, I pull down and kick out, which, guys, that was looking really good, right? And like I said, That's always the most scary looking part, where you go like, what? How on earth do you do that, right? Now you see, it's very simple. I just load their hips up on top of my shins, and I extend them forward, okay? So I didn't mention this because it's kind of a geeky thing. If Coach Seth stands back up, we actually have a name for this position. This is called the crab ride position, and I just learned that that's actually also in wrestling too. I didn't know that. Okay, so in jiu-jitsu, this position here is called crab ride. So there you go. Similarities, cool, all right? Kick them out and come up, all right, guys? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and grab some water, and we're gonna do some drills to help us develop our guard, right? We're gonna be working on these same sort of movements, but we're gonna be starting to do some specific training with it to help us be a little bit more competitive. Okay, guys, any questions? Yes, sir. Let's get to it. On two, 1, 2.